Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Sorry, you are afternoon. I forget about it.
Yes, it's 4:30 p.m. here, Beijing local time.
Okay. Okay, guys. Can you hear me? Just speak to me a few words if you can hear me, right?
We can hear you.
Yeah. I can get your voice. How about the other guys? Can you get my voice?
Yeah,
yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Welcome to the session of workshop today. So the topic of this session is about science and technology, finance and investment. So as you know, also you can got from the previous sessions, a lot of lectures mentioned about this investment and finance, which are also used in the development of Chinese science and technology parks, and also other innovation systems. So today we would like to present a detailed lessons about this science and technology, finance and investment. And we are honored to invite Mr. Zhang Mingxi, the researcher and the director of the Institute of Science and Technology Investment. And he's from the Chinese Academy of Science and Technology for Development. And Dr. Zhang mainly focused on the financial theory and also financial and investment policy for innovation system. In recent years, he has presented over several major national fund research projects for the central government and local government. And he published a number of the academic research results about the science and the technology finance in innovation system in China. So today, let's welcome Dr. Zhang Mingxi to give you the presentation about this finance and investment in science and technology of China. So let's welcome.
理事们、先生们，大家下午好！非常高兴，也很荣幸来给大家分享一下科技、金融与投资这个主题。
Good afternoon from Beijing and maybe good morning from your time. It's really my honor to be here and to share with you, ladies and gentlemen, about the science and technology, finance and investment activities and the experiences in China.
我今天主要结合我们本次2021“一带一路”科技园区建设管理国际培训班的相关要求。 结合过去几年在这个分享过程中的一些好的经验和问题，那么我今天主要分享3个方面。
So today, mainly I will combine with the topic of the workshop, which is specialized in the science and technology park management for Belt and Road countries and regions. And I would like to introduce you both the experiences and challenges we have encountered during the past experiences.
那么第一部分主要讲一下科技金融，那么它的一些基本的理论，那么同时也介绍一下国际上。 那么整个全球的经济金融形势。第2个方面，讲一下科技投资的一些实践方面的操作经验，以及解决园区创新企业在融资过程中遇见的问题。那么第3个方面，主要是从政府的角度介绍一下中国科技金融的。 一些政策与实践。
So today my topic will be break into three parts. The first one is about the rational principle introduction about science and technology finance and related concepts. And I would like also to introduce you the global situation or global context in terms of economy development and financial investment activities. And the second, I would like to introduce you about the practices and experiences of science parks or science and technology finance and investment. And also, I would like to highlight on the problems that science innovation in companies or startup companies encountered during the finance and investment requests. And the third part will be from the government perspective. I would like to introduce you about the policies that has been published in China to drive science and technology finance and investment.
在我讲解的过程中，如果大家有一些需求或者问题，可以随时打断我的这个讲解。同时，我会根据学员的反应，在来之前，我也看了一下各位学员的名单，里面的这个人员主要是园区相关的人员、工作人员为主，所以说我尽可能的提供一些实操层面的一些经验和理论。
So during my presentation, if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to raise up your hands and you can cut me at any time during my presentation. And also during the preparation of this presentation, I had a look about all these participants list. I realized most of our participants are from the management team or the director team of the science park. So today, my introduction will be focused more about the practice.
那么首先我们讲第一个问题，科技、金融与投资的这个基本理论。
So first of all, let's touch on the first part about the concept of science and technology finance.
那么科技金融主要是探索利用优质的科技创新资源，以金融资本有机的结合，从而不断的提高生产力，促进创新的发展。
So actually, putting into a very intuitive or very easy to understand way, science and technology finance refers to the combination or integration between the science and technology innovation resources and capital resources, and to create a synergy for production and for innovation.
那么其中最核心的由3个部分组成。那么第一个部分就是创业金融。那么创业金融主要是指在整个从创意到企业形成，也就是说企业家精神它爆发或它阐释这个过程中，那么金融所发挥的一些重要的作用。
The first one is, so under the umbrella of science and technology finance, there are 3 core parts. The first one I would like to introduce is entrepreneurial finance. That means to use the capital, the power of capital, to support an idea to become an enterprise, and then to let the entrepreneurship to take the lead and create great businesses.
那么第二个方面就是主要是集中在创新，实际上是从 R&D 一直到整个的全过程的完成，实现创新的这个飞跃过程中，那么金融它所发挥的一些相关的功能和作用。
So the second part is the innovation finance. That is to focus on the innovation itself. It covers a full process from the research and development.
那么第3个方面主要是指什么政策性的金融，因为创新这个环节，那么是存在一定的政府失灵，那么需要政府进行干预，因此那么政府可以有效的利用一些金融手段来解决创新资本化或者创新创业过程中的市场失灵的问题。
So, and the third is the policy finance, because we know innovation most of the time is, especially during the beginning, is lack of those kind of profits. So markets is reluctant sometimes to enter into the preliminary stage of the innovation. So the government should play the role to support innovation, encourage innovation. In that way, the government issued policies and use financial instruments and tools to guide those capitals to enter into the early stage of finance and innovation.
那么一言以蔽之，总而言之，那么科技金融主要是科学技术、科学知识和技术发明被企业家转化为财富的整个的融资行为的总和。那么从更广义的角度上讲，或从一国的金融的整个的制度框架上讲，那包括金融的这个工具、金融的服务、金融的体系和金融的政策。
So just in summary, I should say like financing activities, science and technology, innovation, it refers to combine the scientific knowledges and technological innovation into with the capital and to create into business activities by entrepreneurs. So for science and technology finance covers several major parts: financial instruments, as we already mentioned, financial services, policies, and under the whole framework of a financial system.
那么从本质上讲，那么金融活动或者金融资本，那么它往往是这个同质化的。而科学技术创新活动往往是异质化的，那么科技金融就是将通过同质化的金融资本去配置异质化的科技创新，从而实现财富增长的过程。
So actually, let's look at the two parts or the two sides of the skill. On the one part is about the science and technology innovation resources, which are heterogeneous. That means there are diversified, different type of science and technology innovation projects and resources. But on the other hand, we can see capital. Capital is on the other end of the scale, but capital mainly refers to investments and money, which is extremely homogeneous. So in this way, combining the two or integrating the two is to have to utilize the heterogeneous science and technology innovation resources to activate the homogeneous capital investment or capital resources, and then to create more wealth.
那么讲到这个地方，那么近年来涌现出了另外一个方面，就是金融科技的这个蓬勃发展，那么受到了世界各国，包括各个园区的高度关注，比如说数字货币、区块链、人工智能等等。
So speaking of this part, I believe that one of the concepts is really booming in today's world. The fintech has become a buzzword for both the international activities, communities, and also science parks from the global perspective. And there are, under the fintech concept, there are new beings or existence being created. For example, like digital currencies and blockchain technologies and related activities, and also artificial intelligence being heavily involved.
应该说，随着科学技术的发展，那么尤其是信息技术的发展，那么极大的改善了我们过去传统的金融的产品、服务和它的模式。那么同时也对整个的金融体系也造成了或正在造成一些颠覆式的影响。这个也是我们今天可以探讨的主要内容之一。
So as we can feel and we can see that science and technology resources or science and technology powers, and also especially the information technology are changing the world, are reshaping the world. And in this background, the model of services and products in the financial industry are changed greatly, and also the traditional financial system is being disrupted by the emerging technology, by the forces of the new technologies. So I suppose that also to be a major part of today's discussion.
那比如说，纵观近几十年的历史，金融科技我们经历了，比如说金融的它的信息化，比如说我们远程汇款、ATM 机器等的出现。那么第二个阶段就是我们互联网，那么金融的这个出现和发展，这个是主要是以 P2P 以众筹为标志。那么第三个阶段就是到了现在我们的金融科技的那么新型的一个阶段，主要是以这个区块链，那么 AI 为代表的一些新型技术在金融领域的高度渗透与应用，极大的提升了我们金融运行的效率，也改变了我们传统金融的运作模式。
So reviewing the history of fintech, and we can say there are three major milestones or three major updates. The first one is we can see the information technology has been involved in the financial system in related services. For example, we can see the ATM machine and also the remote transaction possible and available for to the public. And the second milestone or the second update is supposed to be the combination or integration of the internet and finance. So we see more new models, business models in the finance industry by utilizing the internet technology. For example, P2P financing or investment platforms and crowdfunding projects. And the third updates, which is happening right now and is very popular, about utilizing emerging technologies like what I have mentioned about blockchain and artificial intelligence and etc. Those technologies has been penetrated and being highly utilized or involved in the financial system and related services to enhance the efficiency of financial services and also to transform the traditional model for related services.
那么无论前面说的科技金融，还是我刚才提到的金融科技，那么两者的交集或者核心都需要创新。那么一方面，那么科技金融的创新需要我们创新我们金融，通过金融创新来极大的促进科技创新。那么另外一个方面，那么也需要我们不断推进金融里面的技术创新与革命，提升我们金融运行的效率，使金融和科技那么两个主要的创新的要素，或者说生产力的要素，从而提升我们发展的质量与水平。
So no matter, I have introduced two major concepts actually, no matter which one, science, technology, finance, or fintech, the core of the two are, the core of the two is innovation. They share the same core. And for science and technology finance, I believe in this perspective, we need to reshape the finance and to add more innovation to the finance model and to the service mode. As a result, to feedback the science and technology development and to tap the potential or to drive science and technology innovation. And also for the financial fintech itself, the fintech actually focusing on the taking the body as the financial sector. So by utilizing technology innovation and technology improvements in the financial sector to optimize the instruments for financial services. In this way, we can combine two parts, that is science and technology and also finance instruments. So being innovation in these two parts, we can combine, actually, we also see these two are the production elements or innovation elements of the global of a national economy. So being very creative in both parts, we can achieve high quality development.
那么第一部分的第三个 知识点，就讲一下现在全球科技创新，或者说金融，或者说工业革命的一个趋势和判断。那么主要目前有3大类的观点。
So, after the science and technology, finance and fintech, I would like to introduce you another wave in a global development. So this is a new concept and this is a new thinking about the fourth industrial revolution. But we have 3 major opinions on this concept.
那么第一个就是世界经济论坛主席斯瓦布先生他提出的，那么当今世界正在进入第4次工业革命。这个 PPT 里面有他的一些主要的观点和划分。那么它的划分的主要的那么标准包括如下几个要点。
So the first opinion I should quote here is from the president of the World Economic Forum, Klaus. And he identified that the current world is under the fourth industrial revolution. And he also gave his definition and criteria on the industrial revolution.
那么它的标准一就是生产方式，比如说第一次的是吧，机械生产，第二是大规模生产，第三个是自动化生产，这是它的一个标志。那么第二个标志就是整个工业革命里面的核心的动力的技术来源。那么第一次它主要是蒸汽机和水力，第二个是来自于电力和劳动分工，第三次主要是 IT 和电子的发展。那么我们现在可能是经历着这个叫什么现实和物理和虚拟世界这个体系。
So let's have a breakdown idea about his definition on the Industrial Revolution. He believed the world is under the Industrial Revolution based on 2 findings, or based on two perspectives. The first one is the production mode, which is obviously the human society has covered already 3 different period of production modes. In the early beginning, it's about industry, and the second phase is featured by large scale industry development, and the third phase is featured by automation, and now we are here in the 4th phase. And another perspective, as mentioned, is the core driver for the economy and for the social development. And previously, in the first revolution, industrial revolution, it is known to all. The power is steam, water, mechanical production equipment. And in the second revolution, the economy is mainly driven by electricity and labor distribution. The third phase and the third revolution is driven by IT technology, information technology, and electronics. And now we are here under the 4th industrial revolution, which is driven by the exploration in both physical space and virtual space.
第二个主要的观点主要是这个李福金的观点。那么他也曾经出过一本书，叫《零边际成本的社会》。那么他另外一本书是《第3次工业革命》。那么他划分的标准是能源和技术的这个耦合，所以他认为未来的第3次革命是分布式能源，也就是说能源和互联网的结合。
So, and also here I quote another well-known expert, and his idea also represents a mainstream opinion on the Industrial Revolution in the world. And this is from Jeremy Rifkin. And he believed that we are also under, he believed that his definition actually for the Industrial Revolution is about the coupling of energy and technology. He has made 2 major publications. The first one is, I quoted here already. The first one is Zero Marginal Cost Society, and the second is the Third Industrial Revolution. And he mentioned that the third industrial revolution is featured by distributed energy, and also the combination of energy and internet technologies.
第三类观点主要是一些研究的学者，包括佩雷斯，包括 Short 他们的研究。他们的研究的基础主要是以康基拉基耶夫那么技术周期的理论。
Now let's have another look about the other opinions. That is the opinion from the third group. That is represented by scholars such as Paris, Freeman, and John Scott. And they gave us the continued and predecessors or economists' idea, and given a degree of diffusion of successive and overlapping technological potentials.
那么它的主要的基本的结论如下。那么第一个就是每一次这个技术周期的这个波大概跨度是这个50年。那么第二个，它的起始的第一次是从1780年这个开始计算。
So this group of experts or scholars has made several conclusions. The first one is that each technology revolution covers almost 5 decades, 50 years. And the second is that they identified the first industrial revolution initiated in 1780.
那么第三个观点就是每一个波分为2个部分、2个段，那么上半段和下半段。上半段主要是技术的情理型的突破，那么下半段主要是这些技术去改造生产生活的各个方面。具体的1、2、3、4，这个可以看我们的 PPT， 我就不赘述了。
So actually here I just gave you the idea for those scholars to identify the technology revolution and related characteristics or features of each technology revolution. So they they summarized also they summarized that each revolution can be put into 2 periods, the first half and the second half. The first half are mainly about is mainly about the technology breakthroughs. That is some emerging technologies or new inventions or from the science and technology perspective. And the second phase or the second half is technology transformation that use technology to disrupt the current production mode and lifestyle. So here you can see on the slides, there are 5 different waves of technology revolution. I would like to skip the details.
那么最主要的是对我们现在所处阶段的划分，这个可供大家在推进工作中参考。就是我们现在正处于信息技术革命的转折点上。
So I think the major one is to learn from the history or learn from those classical concepts and then to utilize them in the current situation. So the core or the emphasis for today and for our current work is to have the categorization to understand what we are where we are right now. So now I believe we are in the transition period of this information technology period era.
那么一个非常典型的例证就是今天我非常有幸在线和各位学员交流。那么这个就是采用我们应该说信息技术革命向我们各个生产部门进行扩散。那么另外一个大加速了我们这一进程就是新冠疫情。所以说我们现在的在线教育、在线医疗、在线的一些其他方方面面的服务，都是我们这一轮技术革命的成果。
So just give you some vivid examples to explain my theory or to explain the theory I quoted here. For example, here today, we are having this virtual workshop. Everybody is joining with your computer and with your internet. So that shows that the result of information technologies has been used into different part of our life or into different part of the production, social production. So this is the diffusion of technology potentials in the national development. And also another thing I would like to say that because we have COVID epidemic. So with that, I think many of these technologies will be fully used in the medical industry or education fields.
那么第一部分的内容，3点内容就介绍到此。那么我们现在讲第2部分，就是有关操作层面的几个简单的知识点和问题。
So previously is my first is the introduction to the first part, and now I would like to give you more introduction about the practices and experiences for science and technology, finance and investment.
那么第一个就是我们科技园区里面遇到的第一个问题，如何认识企业；第2个，如何认识融资，也就是我们的主题金融与投资；第3个就是如何看待我们的投资的一些机构；第4个就是如何认识不同阶段的投资组合。
So here for science parks, actually during the science and during their exploration and practices, they are facing several understandings to understanding the relationship between these parties or to understand the concept or the nature of different parties. So the first one is to understand for a science park to understand enterprises or startups. The second is to understand one of the key sources for innovation and science and technology, that is financing or financial instruments. And the third is to understand one of the major role in this finance and investment, which is obviously investment bodies or investors. And also we need to have a clear understanding about the investment portfolios or instruments during different phases of development.
那么第一个小的知识点就是有关企业的生命周期，对吧？企业一般会分为从孕育，对吧，到整个的一个到青春到稳定期，一直到最后观鸟死亡。应该说，它跟人的生命一样，要追寻一个倒 U 型曲线。
So you can see on the graph, it represents the life cycle of business or of an enterprise. It is similar to to a human life. So you have the stage period, you have the infancy period, and then you enter into the adolescent or youth period, and then you enter into the very strong and stable period of being mature. And after that, the curve declines, unfortunately, and the business or enterprises may just like human beings being disappeared.
那么，对于科技园区里面的企业而言，那么比较困难的问题就是如何对于那些刚刚处于或者孕育期或者刚刚处于初创期的企业，那么在这个阶段，那么它的资金，对吧，需求比较大，但是它又缺乏有效的一些相应的创新的资源，核心员工也不多。那么，如何使这一阶段的企业解决融资问题，是摆在我们科技园区面前的一个首要问题。
So for a science park, for science parks in China, they suffer from a major challenge from the enterprises or from the support to enterprises, because we know for startups or for newly established enterprises, they are quite the environment or the support to them is quite insufficient during the early stage of their formation. And especially for startups, at the early beginning of the establishment, they require financial support, science and technology innovation resources support. And so it is also very difficult for them to receive the equivalent support from different parties.
其中要关注的第二个点就是一些比较发展比较好的，那么尤其是以高核心为代表的，那么高新技术企业，那么它如何通过他们的发展带动我们新兴产业的发展状态，这个对年轻而言也至关重要。
So another very critical issue or responsibilities for science parks is actually because in science parks, there are many high technology companies or enterprises with very high growth potential. So how to tap the potential of these high-tech enterprises to further cultivate the local high-tech industry that has become another key concern for science parks.
那么第三个需要关注的点，就是在整个的园期中，所有企业它在成长发展过程中，对融资的需求性质和需求的体量不一样。那么我们科技园区所提供的金融服务，那么也要随之改变。应该说是整个的提供全生命周期的金融服务。
So another thing is that about the support or financial support to the enterprises from the science park, because in the science parks, enterprises developed from scratch. They developed from 0 to 1. So for different enterprises, actually, they require different sources of finance and different sizes of finance or investment. So in this way, the financial instrument should be really diversified to provide, to make sure it can satisfy different type of enterprises in the science park, and also provide those full process and life cycle financial services to them.
那么第二个知识点就是如何认识融资。
And the second part is how to understand financing.
那么融资分为2个方面，那么第一个是直接融资，第二个是间接融资。那么从另外一个角度上讲，那么分为股权融资和债权融资。
So to put the financing instrument into 2 categories, the first one is direct financing, which is equity, and then another one is indirect financing, which is mainly in the form of loan or debt.
那么应该说，间接融资的划分标准和直接融资的划分标准，是它指是否需要通过金融中介。那么股权投资和债权投资，那么它是主要是投资的性质不一样，一个是需要这个还本付息，那么一个是长期投资，要承担相对大的风险。
So the differences between equity and debt relies in whether you need some professional financial agencies or brokers to help you with in these investment activities. And also another key differences between them is the nature, because for debt, and apparently you need to pay off the principal and interest. But however, for equity refers to long-term investment and dedication in a team or in a business. So it shoulders heavy risk.
那么由于今天各位学员来自于不同的国家，那么可能各个国家的金融制度那么存在一定的差异，但是总的来说，这2类的融资都是需要的。
So I believe from different countries, we have different financial institutions. But however, I still believe these 2 types of financing instruments, equity and debt, are both required in different environments or nations.
那么在间接融资比较发达的这个国家，那么它主要的科技创新企业主要的融资渠道是通过银行发放贷款来实现的。
So for countries that or for a region that practices indirect financing, or indirect financing activities are popular. So the majority form or the major form is through banking loans.
那么对于银行贷款来说，也主要分为2大类。那么第一类是抵押类的贷款，也就是说需要把企业的，比如说固定资产，那么进行抵押。第二类是这个信用贷款，也就是说它不需要任何抵押，主要是基于企业或者基于投资人的他的信用来进行发放贷款。
So on this slide, you can show actually there are 2 sources for an enterprise or for a project to apply for banking loans. The first one is mortgage. You have some physical collaterals and to get the equivalent valuation from the bank as the loan. And second is credit loan. So you do not need to have some physical assets or property assets. You just it really relies on the valuation of the bank for those investors, for those management teams of the company, or for the project of the that has been applying for the loan.
那么通常的流程就是通过收集企业的一些基本的信息，那么银行或金融机构进行内部评级和进行尽职调查，那么最后通过一定的决策机制来决定是否给企业发放贷款。
So the basic process is that in the first place, the applicants will submit materials for the internal rating and reviewing of the by the related parties in the bank departments in the bank, and the bank will set up a team to conduct related due diligence and to with those material collected to have further discussions and then to make the conclusion whether to issue the loan or not.
那么在银行它的贷款的过程中，它主要是获得固定收益，那么企业也是承担固定的这个利息的成本。那么这个里面对于企业而言，那么它需要考虑它的收益和风险的匹配度。
So in this process or in the banking loan, in this concept or in this instrument, the banks only the yielding for the bank actually, or the revenue for the bank mainly comes from the interest rate, which is fixed. Also the cost or expenses for the enterprises is also fixed, mainly also the interest rate. So for the enterprises, whether to apply for the loan depends on the comparison of this cost, expenses, and the return from these loans.
那么对于企业而言，那么银行的信贷或银行贷款，那么可能是主要解决企业面临的流动性危机和风险，它并不能够解决企业长期投资的问题。
So banking loan has some limitations or limited support to the enterprises because it can only address short-term liquidity issues, but it does not applicable for long-term, or is not an ideal solution for the long-term or sustainability of an enterprise.
那么第二个重要的融资方面就是直接融资，或者说我们以这个股权投资为主。那么股权投资，那么分为公开的股权投资和非公开，也就是我们所说的私募股权投资，或者创业投资、风险投资或者天使投资等等。
So for another form of the financing instrument, which is direct investment, also in the form of equity. For that, the enterprise can go to the public market for fundraising, or it can go to the private sources or channels for fundraising. So for private channels, most of the time we call it private equity, which can be in the form of innovation investment, venture capital, or angel investment.
那么，因为不同的国家，那么它的整个资本市场的模式也是不一样的。那么这里主要是介绍一下中国的一个资本市场的基本模式。
I believe different countries holds different capital market structure. So here I just give you the example of China.
那么我们可以看出它呈现一个金字塔的结构。那么金字塔的这个底座或者最下面2层，主要是一些全国性的这个场外那么交易市场，包括一些区域性的私募股权交易市场。那么在金字塔的顶端有我们的科创板和主板，那么中小板，那么最新的改革把中小板和主板进行了合并，也还包括我们的创业板。
So you can see through the pyramid, this is the basic architecture of China's financial market or capital market. And the bottom is the regional equity trading markets, private equity markets, and brokerage OTC markets. And also in the middle layer are growth enterprises market, which is short as GEM, and new OTC. And on the top of the pyramid is the Science and Technology Innovation Board, MIN board, and SM small and medium-sized enterprises board. But currently, earlier this year, MIN board and SME board are merged into one.
那么这个和美国的这个资本市场也比较类似，比如说美国的纳斯达克市场，那么它也是进行了一些分层化或者多样化的改革。根据不同层次、不同类型的企业，我们提供相似适应的资本市场的服务，更好的服务于美国科技和经济的发展。
So it is the similar, it adopts a similar mechanism with the U.S. Financing market or capital market for enterprises. Different tiers and diversified service portfolios. To serve different types of enterprises at different development phases with the equivalent or with the corresponding capital services to finally encourage innovation and enterprise development and growth.
那么这里插播一个简单的例子，就是各位科技人期所看到的一个项目的完整的投资的过程。比如说在最开始的这个种子轮阶段，那么项目可能只是一个 idea。
So I here give you the complete process for investment in a project to cultivate or to, like, you can see the project, a project grow into an enterprise. In the early beginning, it can start with a simple idea.
那么到了第2阶段，这个项目可能有了雏形。那么举一个例子，比如说我们手机上面用的这个 APP 类的项目，可能只是一个 demo。那么在这个阶段，那么我们的天使可能就进入了。那么天使很多时候它是基于对创始团队或者创始人的信任而投资。那么这个时候，那么团队，那么它的力量或者它是否靠谱，在这个阶段显得非常的重要。
So the second phase is to have the idea grow into some early formation. So the project may take shape during this period of time. So for example, like mobile application may be only a demo. So the demo can be shown to partners or to potential investors. So in this period of a project or an idea, angel investments started coming in. So but angel investment is mainly based on the confidence and trust to the investment team, to the team or to the manager of the team.
那么第3个点就是风险投资。那么到了整个项目进入了一定的正轨以后，那么 VC 就是风险投资将会介入。那么这个时候，它对于公司尤其是创业公司提升估值，那么扩大市场，那么非常有帮助。那么当然了，在另外一个方面，那么 VC 也会对我们整个的企业的成长和发展这个规模扩大起到重要的帮助的作用。
The third phase, I should say, is the introduction of venture capital. During that period of the process, the enterprise is, actually covered from idea to a demo, and now finally developing to full-fledged and started to get on track. So VC venture capital is involved to provide valuation or to provide related assistance to the team or to the projects, and then to help the enterprise at that time, or maybe a startup, to grow into scale and to grow into some, like maybe to develop into a certain size.
那么当项目较为成熟时，那么我们所俗称的就是 PE 私募股权投资基金，那么将会介入。那么尤其是近几年，那么在上市前的阶段，也就是 Pre-IPO 阶段，那么投资金额一般比较大。那么 PE 进入以后，那么到比如说一定阶段，2到3年之后，那么就会进行公开市场上市。那么 PE 它最看重这个项目是否带来这个盈利和实现 IPO 这个快速退出的回报。
And then we have the mature stage of an enterprise or of a project. Private equity entered during this moment, and the private it's like private equity most of the time enter into or invest in a project or in company during the pre-IPO period of time. So normally after the private equity joining in or putting its investment, the project will go public into 2 to 3 years. And the key criteria for a private equity investment is the profitability of the projects, and also whether the PE can make it possible to have the to exit after the issuance of IPO.
那么下一页 PPT 主要是一个简单的例子。这个时间关系就不赘述了。比如他在天使轮融资，后来的 A 轮融资、B 轮融资，包括最后的引入这个战略这个投资者，应该说这种例子对于我们科技园区来说比比皆是。
So here I just give you a very typical example of enterprises from the angel round investment and to C round investments, which is really typical to many enterprises from the science park. So due to time concern, I would not introduce you in detail.
那么第三个重要的知识点就是如何认识投资者或者是投资机构、投资人。
The third very critical part is to understand investment bodies or investors.
那么应该说，对于投资人来讲，那么他的所要经历的压力还是比较大的。他需要看非常大量的这个项目，那么再进行一些判断。那么应该说他非常的专业，非常的专注，那么做好这个投资项目的这个筛选。因为毕竟投资的钱它是真金白银，所以说他对项目的投资还是非常谨慎的。
So for investors or investment teams, they are quite stringent and cautious in putting their money in different projects because it's about their performance, and the investment performance is very critical for them because they are getting the return from them. So from daily basis, from day to day, the investment team received numerous projects, and they need to screen the project and find the most potential one among those files. So also as I mentioned again, they are very cautious about any investment into the project.
那么这张有关这个投资的这个决策，那么它从这个筛选项目开始，然后到这个项目的初审以立项，那么尽职调查就due diligence， 然后投资决策，包括这个投顾管理，一直到最后这个投资的这个推出， 那么对于投资人来讲，那么他主要关注2方面的问题。那么第一个方面就是如何防范它的风险，也就是说，他如何能够帮助这个项目或者企业做强做大后退出。
So for the investment management team, they need to cover the whole process of from screening the project and to finally exit from their investment from the project after IPO. So, and also within the process, they shoulder a lot of risks and responsibilities. For just as I mentioned, I introduced you about screening and selecting the most potential project from the files, from the piles of files actually, and also early review, and then to conduct due diligence and to have in-depth discussion and in-depth research investigation on a project that they are supposed or they have any potential to invest in, and then finally make the investment decision. So once the investment is made, and the team also participate in the management of that project.
那么因此，这个尽职调查非常的重要。那么前面我在第一个知识点的第3个小点就讲到了现在全球经济、全球科技的发展形势，这也实际上对于尽职调查来讲，那么具有一定的这个指导意义。那么另外一方面，它尽职调查它主要是对投资的项目，尤其是投资的团队，那么进行不单单是那么财务方面的一些分析，那么更重要的是对这个技术的市场前景，那么进行专业的把控。
So due diligence here is very critical for an investment, because it's kind of like a very critical juncture for the investment or the basis for the team to make the final investment decision. So actually, I just previously I mentioned you about the global context of science and technology development and global context for economy development. So that is also some baseline or benchmark for an investment team to conduct a due diligence. That is also some major indicators during this due diligence report. During the due diligence period, the investment team or the investors need to analyze the project or the company from different perspectives, including financing and accounting capabilities or reliabilities, and also the future potential of the technology of the project.
那么第3个比较重要的就是进行投资后的管理。那么投资的管理不是说你把钱投资一个项目，那么这个投资就结束了。那么投资管理也非常的重要。那么它除了解决一个创新项目、创业企业的这个融资问题之外，那么它还要帮助这个企业去开拓市场，去进行技术研发突破，去不断完善它的上下游的供应链，不断的推动这个企业优化管理，最终实现成长。健康成长。
So the involvement of investment team does not stop at giving the money. It continues actually after giving the money, after giving the capital. And the investment management is very critical as well, because the team is going to help the enterprises to develop market and to support the enterprises or the project to achieve technology breakthrough and R&D funding, new fundings, and also to connect the upstream and downstream supply chain, and also to helping the enterprises in optimizing the related practice and management mechanism.
那么实际上最重要的就是最后要实现退出。我在这里把退出说3遍，退出，退出，退出。
So这个PPT好像有问题，就是它自己在跳。这2遍。So here because we are having some problem with the slides. So on the previous slides is about exit. So for an investment team, the key or the ultimate purpose is to exit with profits.
那么主要有4种这个退出的这个渠道。 那么第一种就是这个 IPO， 或者说通过一些其他的公开市场。第二种可以说就是行业领先企业的并购。第三个就是私募股权市场的转让。那么第四一种是这个管理层的这个回购退出。
So there are four major channels for an investment team to exit the project. The first one is going public, issue an IPO, go to the public capital market. And the second is merger and acquisition by some leading companies from the same sector or from the same segments. And the third is private equity market transfer and to be purchased by the other private sources or private capitals. And the fourth one is repurchase by the management team of the company.
那么认识第三个知识点大点就是认识创业投资机构。那么对于 VC 或者 PE 来讲，那么它主要有两大类的这个投资人。那么第一类就是 GP。第二类是 LP。
So to understand investors, because previously I mentioned you about the importance of the venture capital and private equity. There are two types of partners under this framework. One is the general partner, and the other is limited partners.
那么对于 GP 而言，那么基本上就是说 VC 或者说 PE 它机构里面的高层人或者决策人员，那么他们通常拥有这个公司的股份。那么公司的这个投资的好坏，那么与他们息息相关。另外一类就是 LP， 也就是有限合作人或合伙人。那么他们主要是出资，对吧？交由 GP 去打理。那么 GP 呢就把这 LP 的钱拿去投资项目，那么对投资的项目的收益呢进行分成。
So give you the definition of these two types of partners. General partners has more commitment and more participation in the project. They are normally the senior managers and decision makers from a venture capital or a private equity agency. They own the share of the company, and their activity and their decisions are highly associated with the profitability of the company or the future of the company. Unlimited partners are contributors. They have limited participation in the company or in the investment because they are mainly contributing their capital or a certain asset, and to hand the asset over to general partners for collective investment. And the general partner will use the money from collected from limited partners to find potential projects for investment and for yielding.
那么他们的收益分配通常是2%的管理费和2%的超额的收益。那么下面有一个简单的这个例子，比如说这个 LP， 对吧？这个给了5000万给个 GP 了，然后分别如果说两种情况，一个是收益就是赚了1000万，亏损了500万，那么这个是 GP 和 LP， 那么他们的收益和损失的情况，大家看一个例子就很清楚。
So here is an example about the differences and returns and risks shouldered by these two types of partners. So generally speaking, the fee structure is 2% of the management fee and 20% commission from the yielding. So and here below is the example of limited partner and general partner. You can have a look about their losses and profits.
那么第二方面的第四个知识点就是有关不同发展阶段，那么企业融资的这个选择。那么从初创期、成长期、发展到成熟期，那么它所提供的或所需要的金融方式是不一样的。
So the next part I would like to share is the financial instruments or resources for companies at different stages. Here you can see the company can cover 4 stages from startup to growth and to development and to high growth and then to mature. So at different stages, they need different financial supports.
那么在初创期的时候，它主要是这个3F 之间，就是朋友，对吧？傻瓜和家庭。那么到了这个还可以吸收一些银行的小额贷款。
And in the startup period, as mentioned, the funding source is mainly from angel investors, which are summarized as 3F: friends, fools, and family. And they can also get some microfinancing support from the agencies.
那么到了成长期的时候，也可以进行这个 VC， 包括一些其他的这个债券市场的产品创新，包括银行贷款，还有一些担保等等。
So during the development phase, they can get more like financial supports or financial tools. For example, venture capital. They can also issue some bonds and put on the market, and they can also utilize the other facilities or instruments to have an actual financing.
到了这个发展期的话，那么它还有这个创业投资，包括债券，还有一些其他的资本市场，包括科技的保险，包括租赁等方面的金融的工具和服务。
So in the third phase, in the third stage, they can either go, they can go to the public market like New Third or GM, and they can also find some financing support from the venture capital. And with the to leverage the technology asset, they can have the insurance leasing and banking loan.
最后成熟期阶段，那么它主要是利用一些这个银行的贷款，包括一些并购的这个引入，包括还要发行一些大量的债券，还有我们成熟的资本市场，那么进行支持。
So in the mature stage, the company can fully explore the investment market. They can go either for loan from the banking system or go for some merger and acquisition by the other tycoon or giants from the similar fields, or they can go to the public market for to go as mentioned above, is the private equity, bond, etc.
那么我的第二部分的内容啊，就介绍到这里，主要是认识了这个4个方面。那么我们时间关系，我主要讲这个第3个方面，就是以一个延期啊。因为我们今天是这个科技园期的这个培训班，那么主要是举一个例子，园期它提供科技金融的一个服务平台，来给大家讲一讲相关的案例和实践的经验，那么供各位在工作中来进行参考。
So next, I would like to give you the introduction about the science, giving the introduction by combining the experience from science parks. So this is a platform called Science and Finance Service Platforms. And by utilizing this platform or service systems, different parties can get involved and giving full support to the enterprise.
那么应该说，我们对于科技园期来讲，我们构建一个科技金融的服务平台，那么对促进园期的企业发展，解决我们科技园期的金融和投资问题，非常的重要，非常的具有实践的指导意义。
So to develop a science and technology finance service system in a science park is very critical to serve the enterprises in the science park, and also to provide sufficient and adequate financing investment support to those enterprises and to support the development of the science park.
那么这个服务平台啊，包括2个方面。那么一个是这个线下的物理，包括一些相关的人员。那么另外一个方面，就是通过充分利用我们现在的这个 online 或者信息技术的手段，那么还有一些这个信息技术的平台，那么2者有机结合，给我们的园期提供科技金融的服务。
So the Science and Technology Finance Service Platform, our system of any science park, can actually have 2 service bodies. The first one is the traditional offline system or offline offices with the professional or dedicated staff or personnel providing services to have face-to-face consultancy or service providing. And the other one is also benefited by the information technology. Now we can move everything online to create this kind of online platform to further facilitate the service providing and also to build the efficiency in service providing.
那么我们看这个图的从左边讲起，那么最需要的是我们的创新创业的企业。那么通过我们这个平台去收集我们创新创业企业的一些基本的信息。那么我们这个平台啊，同时也为这个创新创业企业也提供一些增值的服务，包括比如说孵化、加速、众创空间、产业园，我们还可以提供一些其他的专业服务。
So starting from the left side to the right side, I would like to give you a detailed introduction about that. Actually, from the right, so we focus, as we know, the service system focuses on the service to enterprises. So the platform will definitely collect information and materials or any updates of those enterprises. And based on the understanding and analysis of the enterprises, the platform provide value-added services. Just for example, like for innovative startups, the service system can help them to organize makerspace incubators, accelerators, and industrial parks to provide related services. And meanwhile, the service system can also enable some professional services.
那么在专业服务里面也包括研发的设计，那么 IP 就是知识产权，还有我们的检验检测、创业的孵化、我们的技术转移、我们的综合科技服务，还有一些其他的平台性的企业等等。
So as we move along from the left side to the right side, we believe that apart from the value-added services, the system can also provide professional services, as I already mentioned. The professional services include research and development design, intellectual property related services, inspection and testing of the projects or of the technology, startup incubation, and technology transfer or integrated science and technology services. That is very comprehensive side of the services, and also platform enterprises.
那么我们这个服务平台啊，我们把上述这个左边的创业企业的采集到的创业企业的信息啊和它的需求啊，那么提供给这些创业的相关的服务机构，也就是说中介机构。那么由这些中介机构来提供刚才所说的这个专业的服务。
So you can see actually we have built up a bridge to connect different parties, to connect the enterprises from the science park and also the service bodies, third-party service bodies or professional service bodies. So on the right side, information has been acquired or collected from the startups or enterprises from the science park. On the right side, this information has been passed on to the service bodies or agencies that provide professional services. So this is also a place for matchmaking the demand and the services.
那么有的学员可能会问，那么谁来组建或者谁来营运这个平台？那么不同的国家、不同的地区采用的做法这个大同小异。那么很多情况下是政府可以提供一个初始的这个资金啊，来搭建这个服务平台。
So you might wondering, so who is the organizer and who will be the operator of such a science and technology service system? I believe the solution for different countries or regions are similar. In the early stage or in the initial stage, the government will grant a proportion of fund to set up the early stage system.
那么在搭建起来以后，那么可以委托专业化的公司来进行营运。那么它可以两边，对吧？主要是通过收取创业服务机构的那么相关的费用，那么来支持它的营运。那么从更大的范围上讲，那么一个园区那么形成的高新技术 这个服务机型，或者说企业创业企业成长以后形成相关的产业机型，那么它的整个平台的营运也就没有问题，那么政府还能够获得相应的税收。
So another question might be about the funding for all the expenditures for the service system, who to cover it. So actually, after the foundation of the service system with the initial grants from the government, the government will designate or will select a professional company with the competency to run or to operate the service system. So the daily operation cost is covered by some commissions or some management fees from the innovation and entrepreneurship agencies or those investment bodies and or service bodies. And also because in the service system is to create a cluster of services, definitely, and to cultivate the local industry cluster. So in this way, once we have the industry cluster in a region or in a city, the government can benefit from the taxation paid by the enterprises or by the high-tech enterprises.
那么第一个知识点呢，主要是讲一下这些平台的它的构成和运作模式。那么第二个小点主要是介绍一下里面的一些产品或者服务的创新。那么第一个创新就是有关的科技创新贷款的这个创新，这个是里面的园区或者政府那么发挥了重要的作用。
So previously, I just gave you a brief idea about the structure, about the operation of this service system. Now, I would like to introduce you about the innovation in terms of service products and in terms of financial products and financial services. So one of the key or one of the highlighted example is the Science and Technology Innovation Loan, which is greatly sponsored by the Science Park Management Team and government.
那么大家应该在工作中经常会遇到，那么科技企业，那么它这个是轻资产，那么抵押物也比较少，流动资金不足。那么我们这个园区或者政府，那么它通过建立我们的债权融资的一个风险补偿的资金，那么可以使创新创业企业利用知识产权、股权等方式，那么获得第一笔贷款，那么从而在银行等金融机构也建立起了那么第一次的信用。
So actually, because we know that enterprises as at the early foundation period are mostly light assets with few collaterals and insufficient liquidity. So they are not the ideal customers for for loans and for other financial services. So the Science and Technology Innovation Loan created a very special mechanism called risk compensation or risk supplement. So that means the enterprises, the newly started enterprises or the startups can use some of their intellectual properties or equities to trade intellectual properties or equities into credit. And in this way, they can get full credit from the related financial evaluation platforms.
那么它里面最核心的是整个的这个债权融资这个创新机制的构建。那么它主要有3个方面，第一个就是征信，第二是进行风险的这个分担，也就是政府和银行、担保、保险等金融机构进行联合的风险分担。那么第3个要点就是发生损失的时候，那么政府类的或者财政类的这个补偿资金，那么进行补偿。
So here you can see actually it has 3 major characteristics. As I mentioned, the first one is debt financing risk compensation, and the second is to create a very unique mechanisms with the collaboration between credit enhancement, risk sharing, and compensation. So if there is any accident or emergency happens to an enterprise, actually the government compensation funds will enter to address related issues.
那么对于他们的产品性质，主要是信用贷款， 比如说科技型企业利用信用、股权、知识产权或者贷款。那么它的特点就是门槛低啊，然后成本也低。那么第三个就是在合作模式方面，应该说根据各个地方、各个园区它的特征，那么采用不同的这个风险分担的方式。比如说银行、政府和担保机构合作，比如说银行和政府合作，比如说银行和保险合作等等，这个是需要园区自身的特点来设计的。
So let's see about the nature of the innovation loan. So the credit loan are mainly composed of the credits of the enterprise, the equity of the enterprise, and intellectual property of the enterprise. So for innovation loan, one of the feature is low threshold and low cost. And also based on different situation or based on different enterprises, they can the compensation fund may vary. For example, also the loan cost can vary. And another thing is that in terms of the compensation fund, risk compensation, there are different models. You can have bank plus government plus insurance, or you can also have bank plus insurance, or you can have bank plus government.
那么第三个这个要点或知识点，就是讲一下如何解决种子期或初创期企业的它的股权投资的这个问题。那么我们这个园区的这个做法是建立这个针对天使投资的一个引导的基金。
So another thing for the enterprises to develop is about the equity investment. So how to have the proper equity investment structure or solution or strategy. So the way to address this issue or to guide equity investment is to also through a mechanism.
那么应该说，这个天使投资引导基金，那么它主要是通过一个是引导。第二是加激励，就是引导啊，这个知名的这个创投机构，包括行业类的领军企业，还有一些科研机构、高等院校，那么他们参与进来，那么同时也激励那么相关的一些天使投资人，或者说通过激励知名的创投来投资我们园区的这个早期初创期的这个企业，从而来弥补市场配置。资源的这个失灵的这个环节。
So that mechanism is called Angel Investment Guide Fund. The Guide Fund has two major instruments or two major tools. The first one is guidance. The second one is incentive. So it can collect the resources from investment institutions, leading enterprises, higher education universities, and also research institutes. And on the other hand, it also can guide the participation of angel investment and venture capitals to in the early stage of an enterprise where the enterprise is really difficult to get market financing.
那么应该说，这个园区啊，对于园区来讲，那么建立这种天使类的投早期的引导基金非常的重要，因为只需要政府或者财政花一个比较少的资金量，那么从而这个撬动整个的这个社会来进行投资，那么应该起到一个财政资金这个放大的杠杆的这个作用，从而使我们园区的更多的企业来受益。
So I think the angel investment guide fund is very critical because the government can utilize a small amount of grants or fund to introduce more capital participation from different channels and also to guide the participation of the whole public of the society. So in this way, the angel fund, the angel investment guide fund is a platform or is a lever used by the government to kick off the huge capital market.
那么我今天这个在线的这个讲解啊，可能时间稍微超了这个几分钟，那么就主要是针对园区的那么发展、建设和管理 那么针对科技、金融与投资，那么讲了这个3方面的这个内容。
So this is the end of my presentation. I would like to give you a summary about my presentation. It's mainly about science and technology, financing and investment activities and strategies in Science Park. And I may, delayed for several minutes, and hope you can understand that.
那么第一个方面主要讲的科技金融一些基本的理论，包括金融科技。第二个方面是讲了一些这个实践是个认识，如何认识企业、认识投资人、认识投资机构。那么第3个方面是通过一个元气的案例来讲我们在操作过程中，那么如何实现或者如何做的科技金融做得更好，来使我们元气能够这个发展。
So just reviewing the 3 parts. The first one is the theory part about the science and technology, finance and investment, and also fintech. I introduced these 2 major concepts. And the second is our experience from the practice. I gave you the understanding of different bodies or different roles in science and technology, investment, and finance. So how to understand the enterprises, investment bodies, or how to understand different development phases, etc., and how to understand the financial services and instruments. And lastly, I give you the case study within the Science Park. And how can the Science Park utilize different platforms or funds to practice science and technology, innovation, and innovation-related finance and investment activities?
那么我们这个现在休息5分钟，那么5分钟之后，那么希望大家针对我讲的或者我没有讲到的，那么进行这个提问，因为科技金融它涉及到这个方方面面。不光是我讲的这一小方面内容，它涉及到宏观、中观、微观等各个层面。那么我希望一会儿和大家再进行这个互动和交流。最后祝大家好运。
So we would like to first of all, have 5 minutes break, and then I would like to be very glad to answer all of your questions because time is limited, and science and technology, finance and investment are very general topic, covers different aspects, and also involves both microeconomics and macroeconomics. So there are a lot to be discussed and explored. If you have any further concerns or something, some of your questions I haven't addressed during the presentation, feel free to ask after the break.
We will have the break now, so you can review this presentation. Let's think about the question. I will see you back in 5 minutes. welcome back. So if you have questions, you can unmute your microphone and you can start raise questions.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Zhang. That was very good presentation. That was great job. I think I must review this whole weekend, because as you said, financing is really incredible and difficult matter. We are not able to speak about it just about the 5-10 minutes, 1-2 hours, maybe days we need for that. I'll send you some questions by email, because I don't want one by one, we take the time. But in general, I have one question. You can translate, then I say the question. You can.
So the question.
The question, I'll say question later. Okay, you translate it, then I do that.
OK， 那么是这样子。首先就是我们这位学员觉得老师讲的这个内容，张老师讲的这个内容是非常重要的，那么也是非常好、非常深入的一个问题，就是讲到了科技金融和就是融资和投资的一个问题。那么可能就是对于这样的一个比较大的话题或者比较重要的这样的一个主题的话，可能需要一整个周末来去温习这样的一个这个知识和新学习到的这样的一些认识吧。那因为整体来说的话，融资或者是金融服务，还有包括投资服务活动相对来说是非常重要的。那么它又是比较难的，具有挑战的，可能就是说5到10分钟也讲不清楚。可能我们今天讲了2个小时也很难讲清楚，那可能需要讲几天甚至数周的时间可能才能把这件事情梳理清楚。具体的问题可能也有很多，我们这位学员就说了，就不占用那么大家线上提问的时间，因为时间比较紧张，所以那更多的问题希望跟老师通过邮件的形式来进行深入的交流。
Welcome.
One of the important matter about the financing the project, especially for startups and innovative project, is that they don't have a lot of assets. This is why risk sharing is so important. You spoke so tiny about this item in your presentation. I understand about the time limitation, but is it possible to give us more information about risk sharing by the government? I don't want to say about the banking. Everybody know about the house banking going for that, but how is the government acting in this case, especially for the high-tech projects that they don't have any assets, but they need money for developing their project, starting for anything in their job? Thank you very much.
但是除了刚才提到的这些比较深入细节的问题的话，在这里我想占用时间提问一个总体性的或者是有关风险分担的一个问题。因为我们知道，在一个项目进行在融资或者是寻求一些资本投入的渠道的时候，尤其是张老师在整个幻灯片中在讲解中也提到了，对于这种初创型的公司或者是创新型轻资产的公司来说，对他们在早期阶段是很难去融资的，那么很难从市场的渠道上获得相应的资金的支持，因为他们没有任何的可以抵押的实物资产，或者是相应的资产比较少。那么对于分担风险，就是分担风险是非常重要的。那么因为时间紧张，我也了解，就是老师可能没有在幻灯片中给我们讲述过多但是我想去了解相关更多的信息，就是政府怎么样从这个作为一个协调的机制，或者是作为一个风险分担的这个主体，或者是来去进行对于这种高科技的轻资产的一些初创型的企业来进行他们的风险的分担，从而使得这些企业能够在早期最需要钱的时间来，或者是这些环节中获得相应的或者是充分的资本的支持。
我简单回答一下您的提问，您的提问非常棒。那么政府可以从2个大的方面入手。那么第一个就是股权投资方面。那么一是政府可以直接设立相应的这个国有的或政府类的股权投资机构，那对我们的初创企业呢进行直接投资。 那么第二个小的方面，就政府那么建立我们的创业投资的引导基金，那么政府去引导创业投资去投资这些初创型的企业。那么另外一个方面就是债权方面，那么债权方面，那政府那么一个方面就是政府对吧，以建立这个风险分担和风险补偿资金的方式和以银行类的金融机构来进行合作，那么去弥补银行去承担对这个科创企业发放贷款的这个风险。那么第二个这个点呢，就是政府以相应的担保机构或者第三方的机构去进行合作，那么也去是分担银行它的贷款的这个风险。这个我就简单的这个回答这两大方面和政府的一些做法。那么当然了，在我们整个的从全球来讲，那么政府做的一些其他的手段也比较多。那么除了上面的4个方面以外，那么政府还可以去通过搭建公共的服务平台，也可以利用现在的新技术手段来帮助企业去缓解它的融资困难的问题。
So first of all, thank you for the question. It's really a very meaningful question from my perspective. I think for government in guiding the fund or in supporting the enterprises in the early beginning, in the early period of the establishment is really critical. Also combining my introduction, my presentation, I think government can actually act from 2 major perspectives. The first one is equity, so equity investment to these early established enterprises. So government can directly set some platforms or set up some platform, for example, like enterprises investment bodies or platforms that is owned by the government or that is owned by the, just by some state-owned enterprises. So it's owned by the government altogether, ultimately. And to set up the investment platforms or bodies to have this equity investment in those enterprises. Or the other way, something I've covered in my presentation, the government can directly set up the innovation investment guiding fund. So utilizing a small amount of money from the government to stimulate the participation of the third-party agencies of the capital market or of the public sources. The other solution, which is also echoes to my introduction, is that government can support the investment, those enterprises in the form of debt investment. So as I have covered in my presentation about the risk distribution and risk compensation system, because the banking system provide the loan they need to, so it's purely market business, it's capital business, it's capital activities. So for those risks that cannot be covered by the enterprises themselves, the government will set up this kind of a risk compensation fund to supplement the risk or to supplement the credit of the enterprises, and then to give confidence to the banking system to provide the loan. Or in the other way, the government can work with the other institutions or organizations, mainly third-party institutions or organizations, and to provide, just to mitigate the risk and to mitigate the risks that suffered or that may be suffered by any investment, banking system or the other capital sources. Another solution, I should say, that is benefited by the global technology. In the global perspective, we see so many public service platforms. We can utilize the latest technology and to create more sources or more solutions to help the enterprises to get the capital needed. So this is my answer to your question. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Great.
From Romania, may I put a question?
Okay. Okay, please.
Okay, so I have two questions, and they are connected with the question of my previous colleague from Azerbaijan. I understood from some previous explanation from the previous days that the total GDP of China allocated for science and technological research is around 0.45 from the GDP. Is true this? I remember well or not? So from this total value, how much is involved directly by the governmental funds? Because I understood exists also the possibility the bank to be involved, the angels investor to be involved, and so on. So how much total the government of China is investing in this activity? And the second question is not quite a question, it is vague. Give us a good practice example for such things in China. I mean, a company which was developed using this policy, these methods and strategy. Thank you very much.
我们这位来自罗马尼亚的学员提到了2个问题，那么其实是一个问题再加上一个感想。那么首先我先把第2个感想来去跟大家去传达一下。那么首先就是我们张老师在整个介绍中分享了很多中国的具体的实践，比如说相应的服务平台等等。那么这个能够帮助企业，尤其是急需要一些比较有需求的这样的一个企业，来去利用各种各样的政策手段，还有包括资源，来去撬动资源，实现公司的自我的发展和高科技企业的一个成长。那么这一点是给我们分享了非常多的实践，非常感谢。那么第2个回馈到这个问题上，那么问题的话，其实也是紧接着我们上一位来自阿塞拜疆的学员提到的问题，那么是关于政府的作用或者是政府的一个参与度。因为就在前几天的这个其他的讲师讲解的过程中，我们也了解到了中国在于科技创新还有包括相应研发中投入的就是投入总额还是比较高的，占到 GDP 总额的，如果我没记错的话，可能是1.45这样子但是2.24，OK。那么然后那我想知道在这样的一个总额之中的话，就是对于科研投入的总额的话，那么我们也了解到其实融资的渠道是很多的，比如说像这个银行或者像这种天使投资等等，还有包括政府的基金和政府的资金的这个投入。那我想知道在总共这2.24中，那么政府的比例占到多少？
OK， 那个非常谢谢您对我的这个赞誉。就是我们现在中国最新的数据，就是2020年中国的这个 R&D 支出，那么占 GDP 的比重为2.24%，那么总额为也是应该是2.22万亿元，大概是我没记错的话。那么在这个里面，那么政府的这个比例结构是这样的，大概企业占比支出大概75%、76%的这个左右。那么政府大概占到22%这个上下，那么其他的这个剩下的比例是其他资金和来自于其他社会等等一些这个投入，这是大概一个整体的一个占比的这个结构情况。
So first of all, thanks for your compliments. And second of all, I would like to answer your question about the government contribution in the R&D expenses in China. So I should correct you with the figure, with the proportion. So according to the statistics of 2020, the R&D, research and development input in China, taking 2.5, occupies 2.24% of the total GDP of the nation. So that is equivalent to 2.22 trillion RMB. So that is the value and that is the percentage, if I remember right. So among the total value, 75 to 76% comes from enterprises. and 22% or like around 22% comes from government. The left part comes from other resources like public resources.
One example about a company which famous company from China, which was help to this system of financing of R&D activities.
OK， 能不能就是在这样的一个就是研发活动中比较瞩目的一个公司，比如说你参与这样，那么给举个例子。
举个例子很好，但是我的这个名字因为比较敏感，名字不说了。这个全球知名的公司，那么它这个一年的这个研发投入，大概我没记错的话，1440亿美金，占它的营业收入占比高达10%几。
So an example here, there are, to be honest, there are many examples, but one of the example I should quote here, I shouldn't share you the name because it's quite sensitive. You can make the guess, actually, maybe according to the latest global news. So for that high-tech company, according to the report, it spent $14.4 billion in research and development activities, occupying 15% of the operational revenue of the company. It's easily to be guessed which company it is.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next question. So, and I also got some comments and questions from the chat box. So let's do it first. So it's the first question is written by Dr. Ikram from Pakistan. So I send it to the Miss Translator, and you can. Okay, so
是这个 Pakistan 这个问题是吗？ OK。 那我们来自线上留言框里的几个问题，首先第一个是来自巴基斯坦的这个一位学员的问题，就是说对于融资的话，那么尤其是像这种风投的资本那可能在有一些国家是一个比较大的挑战，因为大部分的投资人他们的思维模式是比较倾向于投资一些实体的行业，而不是说一些创新的领域。那么对于中国的这个经验就是那么对于中国在早些年发展这个风投或者是私募基金相关的这些经验来说，可否去给我们借鉴一下，就是讲述一下中国在早期发展这样的一些基金或者是这样一些金融渠道的一些经验？
应该说我们中国的这个风险投资，实际上起步也不是那么早，那么应该也是落后，应该说发达国家很多年，对吧？应该说。 最开始的这个大规模的发展，或者比较成熟的这个风险投资的模式，还是来自于美国。那美国这个上世纪40到50年代，我们这个中国那么发展，那么主要是在这个80年代，那么刚刚的起步，那么到通过这个90年代，那么尤其是这个2000年，那么随着这个互联网这个泡沫的这个出现以后。 那么应该说，这个风险投资进入一个比较这个理性发展的这个阶段。那么大体来讲，我们也是经历了开始这个学习、这个探索、摸索的这个阶段。那么在这个阶段，我们当时的应该说对创业投资或者风险投资的理解，那么也是和您刚才提到的也很类似，也是不知道什么是风险投资。那么投的往往是也是一些传统的这些项目，传统。 的一些产业，那么有的甚至偏离这个创业投资的本质。
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for the question. I should say that China is not a early starter in terms of venture capital and private equity funds. China started quite late. The pioneer should be the United States. United States started venture capital or related activities in early 1940s and 1950s. And they developed a very great history and experience in this venture capital and private equity investment. And they have formulated a very mature environment or system for our large scale venture capital or private equity. In China, we started in 1980s and then have a exploration till 1990s. And after the year 2000, in the new century, after the internet bubble, for the financial crisis and everything going to be very, so everybody is really rational, take a very cautious mindset. But to be honest, in the early experience of China in exploring the venture capital and private equity, we sometimes fall into we fall into pitfalls, and we also sometimes have some misunderstandings about venture capital or private equities. Sometimes there were cases actually found venture capital fund or private equity funds invested in wrongly in traditional sectors or in like a project from the traditional industries.
那么第二个阶段，那么应该说真正进入了就是说创业投资，知道是什么的投资，怎么去做。但在做的过程中，我们也遇到很多的问题。第一个就是国有的或政府的资金，它直接去做创业投资。那么政府直接做，那么往往政府的人员他又缺乏这个相应的这个专业的知识和专业化的这个管理能力。 那么导致最后偏离主业，也是以失败告终。
And this is in the first stage. Actually, we suffered from some failures, and the failure is mainly caused by our lack of understanding on private equity or VC as financial instruments, and then we entered into the second phase. As we developed experience about what is those financial instruments and how to guide and how to practice these financial instruments. And government at that time funded or established many innovation funds or investment bodies. But since government has limited capabilities, government is not cannot cover the competency for being professional and for being some management experts. So many of the government attempts also failed in terms of innovation investment.
第三个阶段就是通过市场化的创业投资机构来进行投资，但是我们又遇到了新的问题。 那么就是退出其他的问题。那么当时我们的多层次资本市场还不是很健全。那么所以说这个市场投资有经验的投资人到了最后，刚才我在这个讲课中也提到了，就是退出。那么没有多层次资本市场，那么最后也无法实现退出，导致这个行业它无法形成一个比较好的良性循环。
So, and the third phase, as we have more of the market forces joining in. There is another challenges. There were another challenges. So it's called like exit mechanism. There is insufficient exit mechanism. As I mentioned for so many times, as I emphasize that for investors, the ultimate goal is to exit with profits, or with return on investment. So because in early stage, China didn't have such a rich system for capital market, as I showed you the pyramid structure. So there is insufficient exit mechanism for investment or for market capital. So that in that way, the investors cannot exit once they get profits, and also the capital cannot flow like freely, effectively on the market.
那么第四个阶段，我们解决了这些主要问题，那么我们应该说才真正的进入一个创业投资，进入健康成长的这个轨道。那么当然了，在这个轨道过程中，我们政府还做了一些 比如说如何建立这个母基金或者引导基金，就 fund of fund 的方式，那么引导我们的这个创业投资机构去投真正的创新，投中小企业。那当然了，我们现在也还遇到一些其他的问题，那么这个希望我们中国走过的一些经验，走过的弯路，那么能够给你们在今后发展的 VC 的过程中，能够提供一些启示和参考。谢谢你的问题，非常棒。
So as I mentioned about the three period of or the three period of experience, and then now we are in the fourth period. In this fourth period, we're trying to build a healthy environment for fundraising and for the circulation of the capital on the market. And the government also trying to attract the attention of capital or of the fund to serve and to support small and medium enterprises and to support early stage innovation. For example, the government set some fund of funds and a mechanism to fully, to fully guide the private sectors or the market. But within this endeavor or attempts, we also ran into challenges. So everything is under exploration. But I believe as China has practiced this venture capital and private equity for several decades, we can share some of our experiences, no matter it's good experiences or lessons we learned, just for you to take for you to develop your mechanism effectively.
Okay, so here I got a comment from Mingxi from Philippines, and he wrote some input in the chat box. So first, I would like our translator to translate the input to Mr. Zhang. Mingxi.
那么我们看到线上还有一些学员留言，留下了他们的一些感想。那么首先第一位是来自 Mingxi 的这位名叫 Mingxi 的这位学员，那么提到了就是我们的张老师在给出了一个非常丰富、信息丰富、详实的一个讲解，让我们了解到了中国如何利用这些如何充分的去补充这些创新公司的他们的这个弥补相应的一些信用机制，来去减少银行还有包括其他金融机构所面临的这种风险。那在菲律宾的话，往下滑一下。在菲律宾的话，我们也看到银行现在还没有开放，还没有向这个创新企业开放相关的服务，因为的确这些企业所面临或者是所带来的风险是比较巨大的。那么有一些银行呢，可能想要去然后呢，有一些银行如果是提供这种服务的话，那么如果是对这个创业型企业提供服务的话，可能会面临着一系列的这个来自行政处罚，比如说因为他们向这个高风险的人群提供了贷款，比如说有一些这个农民，或者是因为政府其实因为现在对于银行的一些监管的一些法律等等，也是说禁止向这种这个高风险的人群提供相应的这个借贷或者是提供这样信用服务这种金融服务，这太难翻译了。这个一翻不好，这个不好滚动这个轮。那么我们想看一下，就是对于这个怎么，你可以给我看一下你的手机吗？这个翻译太难了，不好意思，我们稍微等一下，因为现在用这个对话框聊天滑动的话，鼠标不是非常的灵敏。对，你给我看一下你的手机也可以，因为我的手机不是没在身边。
Okay, so this first one is the comment from the Mingxi from Philippines, and then the next I got another comment from Thailand, from Vasper from Thailand. So I would like the translator to translate this comment to Dr. Zhang, and After that, I saw there is 2 questions from Iran, so we will answer that later.
这样可以了，我全屏了，可以了。那么我们来自泰国的这位学员的问题，就是说想问一下在中国的这个crowdfunding，也就是这个众投众包的这样的一个这样的一个生态是如何的？那么第二个问题就是像这种就是从大学园区从大学里毕业的这样的一些公司或者是创业公司，他们在早期可能因为资金不充分，但是他们拥有自己的这个知识产权 IP， 所以我们能不能如果是我们进行这种知识产权像这个信用的这样的一个转化。的这样的一个机制的话，那么我们需要，比如说这种公司，它需要或者创业团队需要向金融机构提供什么样的材料来去证明它的这个所谓知识产权的一个价值或者是估值。那么对于怎么样去评估这样的一些材料或者是这样估值的一个客观性？
那么非常感谢您提这个2个问题。那么第一个问题是有关我们中国这个 crowdfunding， 就是众筹的发展。那么应该说众筹的发展，那么前几年应该说是非常的火热。那么近几年由于这个受经济的整体形势的影响，那么进入一个较为这个理性发展的阶段。那么应该说众筹能够从一定程度上解决，那么尤其是在产品相关研发过程中的一些相关的问题。有一些比较好的这个案例和公司啊，这个众筹发展的比较好。那么应该说，众筹是成为我们这个创新创意，那么尤其是在产品众筹这个方面，它能够发挥这个重要的作用。那么在其他的一些方面，那么众筹的模式可能并不适合，这个是以众筹它的这个属性和性质所决定的。
So first of all, answer your question about crowdfunding ecosystem in China. In the first several years, I think China has really a popular or has really a positive environment for crowdfunding, and related activities were really popular. But this kind of a trend is cooling down in China because that is influenced or that is impacted by the overall economy. Overall economy. So, and I think in terms of crowdfunding, some project or some products may be very suitable to find some solutions from the crowdfunding platforms. For example, some products or some R&D assets can be very popular and can be very successful from crowdfunding. But there will be some projects that are not going well with the crowdfunding resources.
那么第二个问题啊，您说的知识产权的这个融资问题，应该说这是一个世界性的难题。那么各个国家都在这上面这个想了很多的办法。那么对于中国来讲，也是处于一个探索的这个阶段。应该说知识产权如何对它进行价值评估，这个是需要至少2个大的方面来解决这个问题。第一个方面是需要发展那个知识产权评估的一些专业的机构，那么第二个是要这个能够形成那么知识产权它能够整个交易评估的一个循环的这个闭环，那么第3个就是形成全社会对知识产权创造应用的一个良好的社会生态环境。那么在这一方面，中国实际上做的也不是那么理想。那么当然了，这个是需要在实践和探索中不断摸索的。我也希望您和你一块儿这个分享有关知识产权的一些金融的一些做法。谢谢你。
So for your second question about the evaluation or about just subjectiveness of the evaluation of the intellectual property, I believe this is a global challenge, and there is no, very clear solution to this, and everybody is exploring this. And I think we need to start from 3 perspectives to to address the issue of IP evaluation and related, and the first one is to create some professional intellectual property evaluation institutions or bodies. And the second is to improve, to create a loop and close the loop from the evaluation to products and then to implementation to finance. So covering every steps. So just create a closed loop for IP evaluation and related financial services. And then the third is to create a public environment or ecosystem in the whole society for IP evaluation and in that perspective, or IP intellectual property awareness, for example. So I think for all of the parts I've mentioned, and China didn't do a well or satisfactory work. But you know, as I mentioned again, it's a global challenge. We are all exploring effective tools to address the issue of that intellectual property valuation.
Okay, thanks for the question. And next we move to the Best Technology Corporation from Iran. And I saw there are 3 questions here. So let the Miss Translator to explain to Dr. Zhang first.
那么我们现在还有3个问题，分别是来自伊朗的2位学员。那么第一个问题是提到了说，对于联合投资，那么在比如说中国与其他国家进行这种跨国的合作投资的案例。那么还有说如何这些投资的平台是如何建设和如何管理的。那么政府或者是银行有没有进行这个科技转移相关活动的一些支持，比如说从中国就是跨境的科技转移从国外转移到国内，或者是国内转移到国外，这样的一些政府和银行资金这个资助的一些这个科技转移活动。那么还有一个问题就是说，根据中国和伊朗的这个双边的协议，我们可以看到就是说或者是我们未来的合作吧。那么中国是否有计划在与伊朗合作来进行这种相关的技术的投资？
那么非常感谢您的这个提问。那么有关第一个问题，就是联合投资。那么就我所掌握的这个不完全掌握的这个情况，那么应该说2个主权国家之间，就是中国和某一个国家之间的这个投资那么尤其是创业的投资是非常的这个多的。那么这个是毋庸置疑的，这个也是我们这个习近平主席这个构建人类命运共同体那么里面的这个重要的组成的内容。
So first of all, for the first question about the joint investment of between China and other countries, there are many cases, to be honest, and also as President Xi Jinping promoted the concept of creating a shared future for humankind. So in this way, everybody is connected. So we are in a connected world. So there will be definitely a lot of issues about the joint investments between China and other countries.
关于第二个问题就是跨境的技术转移平台的建设。那么这个应该说。这个我们国家也是非常的积极的鼓励和支持，那么相关的一些平台建设、技术转移以及相关的这个服务。比如说举个例子，我们这个屏幕后面的这个长城战略执行，那么他们这个部门这个机构，那么就进行了在这个原期的国际合作方面，应该说是积累了大量的宝贵的经验。这个你们可以和他们这个会后可以直接进行一些沟通和交流。
So in terms of the building and management of international cooperation of the joint investment, so I think China, this is Chinese government does really appreciate or encourage or support this platform building, service providing, and also technology transfer activities. So I just for example, the organizer of this workshop, GI, is a practitioner in terms of the international cooperation in science parks. So they have accumulated a rich experience in this perspective in the international collaboration. So you can have more detailed discussion with them.
那么关于第3个问题，这个我很难的回答，因为我不是这个外交这个部门人员，但是我敢肯定，应该说中伊关系那么是非常的好。那么我也是期盼这个我们能到你们那边投资，也欢迎你们到我们这边投资。 来促进我们两国共同的科技、共同的进步和发展。谢谢你。
So as of the third question about China-Iran, Iran joint cooperation in technology investment, I haven't been able to access to these specific informations because I'm not from the from any department of foreign affairs and foreign cooperation. So it is not part of my work. But to be honest, China and Iran are good friends. I think there will be a lot of opportunities for us to conduct a mutual investment in terms of science and technology and to further promote the prosperity of science and technology in our countries. Thank you very much for all these questions.
Okay, guys. Any questions for this for Dr. Zhang? Okay, 这里我直接翻译。So here are the questions. 还是刚才那个伊朗的这个伊朗这位同事提的，然后他说。
OK， 那么这个问题就是还是回馈到我们伊朗的这位学员提供的第一个问题，就是是一种双边或者是多边的这种联合的，比如说跨国联合的这样的一些投资平台，可不可以给我们举几个具体的例子？
非常感谢您的提问。具体的例子我肯定，因为我不是这个从事这个方面的这个具体的工作人员，因为我这个知识面也确实没有那么的广。但是我敢肯定的是，肯定是有这个中医合作的相关的这个平台，但具体的名字我肯定我感觉我应该叫不出来，非常抱歉。
中外合作的吗？
中外合作的应该是非常多的，比如说我们有这个科技方面，那么我们有很多这个，比如说中国和外方的一些科技园区的合作，我们有科技投资的双边的基金，对吧？我们有双边的这个相关的实验室。包括我们还有一些研发机构的合作等等，这是非常广泛的。
Thank you for your question, but unfortunately, I can't give you a direct name or example of those in platforms because I'm not in. So it's not my part of my daily responsibility. So I just give you. Generally speaking, there are a lot of platforms between China, between China and other countries. And for example, China and our friends and have this kind of a have international science park building with the other countries. And also China has entered into a bilateral fund for science and technology investment with other countries, and also to create some joint laboratory or research and development centers. So there are many of those examples, but fortunately, I couldn't, specify a name here.
Okay, okay, guys. So, any more questions? So if you don't have any questions, this will be the end of today's session and the end of the first week. So for the next week, it's gonna be a little bit different. We will invite different organizations and people and also different parks. I mean, we will invite people who are currently working for these parks and organizations. So I will write you emails about another detailed introduction about what we are going to see next week. So let's come to our last job before you go. So we will take a group photo with Dr. Zhang, and thanks to his brilliant speech today. So please open your video for 1 or 2 seconds. Or we can
他们会就是
把所有的镜头都打开，跟您合照。So guys, please open all your videos. Okay. Okay, guys, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, thank you guys. I'll see you next Monday, and thank you for joining us this week. Have a very good weekend. 正好可以大家挥挥手，再见。
Thank you.